All I can say is welcome everybody. Corey has let me speak for about an hour to an hour and a half, so get comfortable. I think a lot of people will be walking out by that time. So I appreciate all of you coming here today to share with us today. Today we gather to reminisce about and to honor the life of Adrian Oostlander. Now I know it's said many different ways. He used to say Oostlander. So we also gather here to lay Adrian to rest. There are no words to describe what you're feeling this time, and no comfort that can be given to take away the pain of losing a loved one. Each of our pain is different, so we must allow each other to grieve in our own way. During this time of reflection, don't be afraid to laugh and don't be afraid to cry. This is a safe place for all of us to grieve and honor Adrian's memory. Now, as we prepare to center our minds on Adrian and the memories we have of him, I would ask that you listen closely to a song that meant a lot to Adrian. One that he shared with Corey when they were first dating, and one that was actually used at your wedding. So, Gerda and Darcy will both tell you that Corey truly was Adrian's first love. And this song speaks volumes to why Adrian wanted to share it with Corey. So, as you listen to the song, Dream Come True by Frozen Ghost, please say your own goodbyes and prayers for Adrian as you center your thoughts on him and on his family.
Love of my life, I don't have a lot to give you. What's in my heart is all that I can really give you. Love, undying love is all I have. A handful of words that might make you laugh, and all the strength you need to make it through all your troubled times. I give all of myself to you, only you, my dream come true. Love of my life, you are all I ever wanted. To be with you is all I ever really wanted. You've made my life a fairy tale. You've added love to a life that was so stale. And know that I'll be here always for you. When you need a friend, I give all of myself to you, only you, my dream come true.
Adrian had been waiting for his whole life for you. Know that, Corey. And know that you truly were the love of his life. Both Adrian's siblings agree on this and understand that you can draw on each other for all the strength that you will need to make it through your troubled times. You can stand by each other and be there for each other. Now let us look back on a life that touched so many. In the early 1960s, Adrian's sister Gerda was a teenage girl and was asked what she wanted for Christmas. And she said, a brother. I think she's regretted that since. So in 1962, she got her wish when Adrian was born in Lethbridge to her parents. And then, about 6 years later, Gerda's wish was doubled up on when the family welcomed another son, Darcy, into the fold. Now, when Adrian was about 4 years old, Gerda was asked to babysit for her little brother. But she had to go out, she was planning on going on a date with Gary to the drive-in. Thinking that Adrian would fall asleep, they figured they could easily take him and have some time alone. So they took Adrian with them. However, even at this early age, Adrian showed his love of movies and stayed up the whole night watching all of the movies that played on the big screen, with him wanting more popcorn, more drinks, and having to go to the bathroom. Spoiling Gerda and Gary's night out. Sort of. Adrian attended Galbraith Elementary School, Wilson Middle School, and he graduated from Winston Churchill High School in 1980. Adrian was very good at school, especially when the subjects came to things where he could work with his hands, because as we know, he was so mechanically inclined. During his 18 years, Adrian went to his dad's at City Packers to help out, enjoying it a little bit more on the sausage making side rather than some of the other floors. And he enjoyed it so much he's even still got some of his dad's sausage making recipes. After high school, Adrian attended Lethbridge Community College and achieved his journeyman certificate as a partsman. And it was there, he was working at Canadian Tire at the time, and for one of his school projects, he was tasked at redesigning the auto parts inventory system for the place where he worked. And lo and behold, it worked so well that Canadian Tire actually adopted his system. Adrian moved on to the auto dealership industry, working at Lethbridge Volkswagen dealership. And when they sold to a Mazda dealer, they kept the building, and they kept Adrian, and he kept his own chair. So he continued to work in the auto industry until the middle of the 1990s, when he left work there for about a year to find something he really enjoyed. He didn't like it. He didn't like being off work, and he was lucky enough to land a job at the Bow River Irrigation District. In the late 1990s, Adrian moved to Vauxhall and started to work for the Bow River Irrigation District, and he worked his way up to the storekeeper. And when I checked yesterday, his name was still on the website as that. He loved it there, and I know there's lots of people here from that company as well, so thank you for coming out. But Adrian was happy that he was getting close to his 85 Pactor because he was looking forward to retirement and spending a little more time driving you and your kids crazy. Later on, during his time, I digress a little, later on his time at Bow River, he also took a second job. He had a job working at the Walmart in Tabor, unpacking boxes, learning how to drive a forklift just to earn a little extra money. Now, Darcy and Gerda always teased Corey that Adrian took the job so he could pay for her rig. Not sure if that's true, but Corey and Adrian actually met through Plenty of Fish, and he pursued her, and he messaged her, and he kept at her, and he finally set up a meeting at Top's Pizza in Medicine Hat on a long weekend. Now, Gerda and Darcy were sure there was something up, because that same weekend he was supposed to make time and be with his family, but said he couldn't make it. But he was really vague about the reason he couldn't make it. And it was shortly after that Adrian phoned them to tell them that he'd met some of them that he really liked. And that's when Adrian said to Corey, the next time we get together with my family, just understand that my sister is gonna grill you. And she did. Gerda did, and Corey was welcomed into the family. Their courtship continued with Adrian going to the Hat to meet Corey, I think every Wednesday and every second weekend. And that led to him actually quitting his job because he wanted to spend more time with Corey. Adrian moved to Medicine Hat, and he and Corey were married on August 4th, 2018 in Medicine Hat. And they headed off to their honeymoon down to Kalispell, BC, and right through Calgary. And just so you understand this, when Adrian was out on his own, he never lived with anyone else. He only lived with his parents and his brother and sister, and that was until Corey came along. He finally moved into a house where he was loved. I'm not saying you weren't. He was loved in that way, so that's wonderful. To pass the time, when he was in Vauxhall, Adrian used to work on his 1954 step-side truck, which he stripped down to the frame and redid it from the ground up. And it was just needed some body work to finish it off, but as you guys said, that wasn't his strong point, body work. But he did sell it back to the guy he bought it from, and not much at a loss, so that was good. Adrian was a member of the Vauxhall Gun Club, even acting as the secretary-treasurer for a few terms. Adrian enjoyed skeet shooting and target shooting, and he even won a trophy at the Alberta Summer Games for skeet shooting. Adrian also enjoyed driving down to Vegas once or twice a year to do a little gambling, taking a couple of shows. He really enjoyed seeing the comedians perform, and he mentioned his enjoyment of the Blue Man Group and Penn and Teller. Adrian was looking forward to taking you down to Vegas to show you the site. Now, Adrian liked cats, and he liked Vegas, and that's why his latest cat was named Vegas. Now, understand that this is why Corey didn't initially pay close attention to Adrian on Plenty of Fish, because she wasn't a cat person. And Adrian was. And with him only smoking the Bandit prior to Vegas and then having Vegas with him, it's funny to note that they now have two other cats. Callie and Oakley came into the fold, and they're now running around her house. Now, don't judge Adrian too much, because he actually did own a dog for a week, and he hated it. So, it's good to see that you're a cat person now, and you have Oakley and Callie to be with you. Now, Adrian was not a man of many words, and he showed his family his love through his actions. It was in the little things that he did for them, like driving from Vauxhall to Lethbridge to check on his parents weekly, and then after his dad passed, he'd drive down twice a week. After moving in with Corey, Adrian would drive from Medicine Hat to Vauxhall and back again every day to work for these past 3 years. Now that is showing your love. Just as he would when, without being asked, he made sure that his niece Shannon felt welcome to the family and made her some vegetarian burgers and salads so she wouldn't feel left out at a family dinner. And he continued to make those vegetarian dishes at Christmas, at their wedding, and other family functions. And even though Adrian's training was in parts and inventory, he was a good mechanic. He was as good a mechanic as anyone else. And Darcy was calling upon him quite a bit to help out with his vehicles. And he was always on hand to help out, even though he would grumble about doing it. If Adrian didn't know how to do something, he'd research it on the internet, and he was able to put what he learned to work, filtering out the garbage and successfully completing his project. And Adrian was always spending time, enjoyed spending time with Darcy going to the car shows once or twice a year. Now, Adrian, with Corey's children, treated them just like his own. He loved to tease Shelby. He enjoyed helping Kenneth out with his truck. And he always made sure that he helped out with the gifts for special occasions. From the turnout here, you can see that Adrian was a kind person. He was well liked. He liked the color blue, which is why the urn is the color it is. He enjoyed Lay's potato chips. He loved Diet Pepsi, and he loved the Dutch dish croquettes. And with all that, I know that we're missing way too much. There's so much else about Adrian that we're missing out on. But I think you will agree that Adrian was always willing to help in whatever you needed. And Adrian was a quiet person, especially when it came to the smart remarks. A couple of the younger family members are going to miss their Ang Ang and Eidolon, and that's what they knew him as. Adrian will truly be missed, but he will never be gone, truly gone, if he's remembered in your hearts and in your minds. So think of Adrian, talk about him, and fondly remember those times that he touched your heart in some way. Ensure that you continue to share stories about Adrian with each other, and know that as you remember him, these memories will help guide you through the grieving process. Now, Adrian had told Corey that when he went to funerals, one of the poems that he liked hearing was Footprints in the Sand. And I know that it's printed in your memorial card, but I think it begs repeating here. So we can honor Adrian by speaking it aloud. And we will continue to offer this up as our closing prayer for Adrian. Footprints in the Sand, it's by Carolyn Joyce Carty. I have a couple lines that are not on your card. They start like this. One night a man had a dream. He dreamed he was walking along the beach with the Lord. Across the sky flashed scenes from his life. For each scene he noticed two sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to him and the other to the Lord. When the last scene of his life flashed before him, he looked back on the footprints in the sand. He noticed that many times along the path of life there were only one set of footprints. He also noticed that it happened at the very lowest and saddest times in his life. This really bothered him, and he questioned the Lord about it. Lord, you said that once I decided to follow you, you'd walk with me all the way. But I have noticed that during the most troublesome times in my life, there are only one set of footprints. I don't understand why, when I needed you most, you would leave me. And the Lord replied, my son, my precious child, I love you, and I would never leave you. During your times of trial and suffering, when you see only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. Amen. Know that he's walking with the Lord right now. And understand that during this time of trial and suffering, let the Lord carry you when needed. And know that there's others there. They're there for you as well. To listen to assist, to comfort, and if needed, to carry you through this time of grief. As we come to this close of this gathering, I would ask that you say your own goodbyes for Adrian as we prepare to leave him here. One last thing that we will do, we have a couple keepsake urns here that we'll put with Adrian. They're just small portions of his parents' remains. Now, placing these urns with Adrian show that even though he is gone from this world, he is reunited with the loved ones that have gone before him. For that we can take some comfort, even though we grieve here. Thank you so much for coming. Remember Adrian in your hearts and in your minds. And we appreciate you for being here to show the family that you care.